Yes, people, what's going on? Welcome to Stretford Paddock. I am Adam Mckola. He is Joe Smith. We're here to preview Manchester United against Southampton at St Mary's. Joseph, how are you doing, brother?
I'm doing very well, especially after that Istanbul game, which was slightly better than the West Brom game and miles better than the last Istanbul game. So feeling a bit more confident.
It was a lot better, wasn't it? And it wasn't just the result that was better, especially in that first 45, 50 minutes of the game. It was the performance that was better, and that's what we've been crying out for, haven't we?
Yeah. Obviously, you only get 3 points no matter how you win. But that West Brom game, it almost afterwards, it was like a weird feeling where you're sort of going, I know we won that, but my brain and my body feels like we lost. Like it just felt like one of them, another performance to put in the why things are wrong column, rather
it was like
than
the
why
Brighton
things
game
are a bit
away
better.
from home, where we won, but it was...
Did we really win? What did we win here? We won the points, but we didn't win like any confidence. We didn't really win any good favour. We didn't like the players or like the manager anymore after the game. We actually liked them less, but we somehow got 3 points on the table. So I didn't get that feeling after the Istanbul game, and we needed that, especially after the last game against Istanbul, where not only did we lose, but it was again one of those ones where you go, are you even trying? Like that first goal we conceded last time against Istanbul was terrible. But again, this game, the last game the other night, much better, much improved.
It is much better. I mean, there's a lot of talking points that have come out of that game. Obviously, Donny van der Beek, Edinson Cavani, all these different things have come to the forefront, and we will be discussing those in this preview with myself and, of course, Joe. Make sure you get your thoughts in the comments below as well. Get your predictions, your predicted 11s and all those kind of things in there. Obviously, we're coming up against Southampton. Hassan Hüttl's side are a very, very good side, even if I do say so myself. And going there, it's not going to be easy. So we'll be looking at the opposition as well, as you can briefly see their form on the screen right now. We'll talk about Southampton a little bit later. Joe, I'll let you decide the opening topic. You know, we've got a few. Donny van der Beek, Edinson Cavani. Where do you want to go first, Joe?
I think start at the front of the pitch, start at the top of the pitch. It's been Martial's form has been something we've discussed a lot, and he gets ridiculous criticism online. He gets a bit more level-headed criticism other places. We like to talk about it a bit more kind of, let's see what's going on here, let's see why it's happening. But again, against Istanbul, he was all right. I don't think he stood out. I don't think he was, even in that first 45 minutes where United looked good, I think he looked all right. Like he has this thing where he sprints into the box and then sort of stands up and then he kind of looks for the shot, looks for the pass, can't always seem to find it. And when he's not scoring himself, sometimes you think, he almost needs to play it a bit more simple. Instead of sprinting at the man and then getting kind of stuck with the ball under his feet with three men in front of him, he almost needs to sort of wind it back a bit and go, right, I'm going to pass this guy, I'm going to make this run, I'm going to try and get on the end of something rather than, I'm not scoring, so I'm going to try and create it all for myself. But the thing that is the real talking point for me is Cavani's made his first start for United against Istanbul. And I thought his movement was good. I thought he created space for the people. And even the second goal where the goalie fluffed it, Cavani was jumping up for the header in front of him. Now, I'm not saying Martial wouldn't have been there. We don't know. But one of the criticisms of Martial throughout his time at United, especially when he plays up front, is he's not always in that poacher's position. He's not always dying to get to the near post. And that's something Cavani does do. Whether he scores or not, like he didn't in that instance, he put the goalkeeper off, the goalie made a fumble, and Bruno could tap it in. Now, you wouldn't say that's a Cavani assist, but you would say a player whose urgency and whose, like, it's not even an urgency, it's just automatic instinct at this point for someone like Cavani, is I'm going to get in front of the goalkeeper, I'm going to get to the near post, and whatever happens behind me, happens behind me. But I'm not certain Martial would have been there. Again, you can't criticise him for something he didn't do, but Cavani's going to be there. He's either going to nod it in or he's going to try and distract the goalkeeper. So it's just whether, while Martial's in this bad run of form, some players, the best thing for them to do is keep playing him. Like Wayne Rooney was one of them where when he's playing badly, you play him every week until he starts scoring again. Because if he sits on the bench, you'll put 2 kilos on or whatever, and he'll come back and he'll look sluggish. With Martial, I think we're getting to the point where you have to say, it's become something that needs addressing now. I think whether that's by playing him and you play him through the form, or by saying, you know what, take you out the firing line, let Cavani start a couple of games. He's clearly more fit now. I don't think he'll necessarily take his place on Sunday, but it's just whether you think, how do we address this forward line situation? And I think there are questions that need answering now, whereas before you could sort of go, oh, it's a slow start. Now it's 7, 8, 9 games into the season. I think we just need someone to score no matter who it is.
Yeah, I think I like that we've got Cavani there. One, because his movement obviously is incredible, but two, because we need that option in there, an alternative or a solution at times like these. As for Martial, I don't think he's got to a point of I'm worried or we need to fix this right now, as in take him out of the team or leave it. Like, I don't think he's got to that point, but I do think in terms of, like, for example, if Edinson Cavani needs a goal, there's certain things he's doing to get himself a goal. And I think at this moment in time, Martial hasn't got that selfishness that I want from a number 9. And I think you need that. And I think that part of that shows in your movement as well, because you're constantly looking for the ball, looking for a goal. Now, Martial's a great footballer when he's got his back to goal, people are close to him, he can spin in, square defenders up, get in behind goal, all those kind of things. But in terms of turning a bad pass into a good pass, he rarely does that. In terms of, his constant movement, he rarely does that. And I actually think they could be good foils for each other. Like we saw when Cavani came on, Martial suddenly got so much more space because of the way the game had changed. But I just want to see Martial picking up those be greedy. You're a striker that, obviously in the Champions League is different because he's got 2 in 4. So I don't think he felt that pressure to score. You're not sitting on 0 in the goal scoring column. Do you know what I mean? Whereas in the Premier League you are. You need to score. So I don't think he quite had that. But there was a run he made in the first half. It was an amazing run. He twisted up Raphael, he turned, and then he looked for the pass. And you almost think, bruv, shoot.
Yeah.
And in that instance, it probably was the right decision to pass. But at times, I feel you need to be more greedy because he has the ability. And sometimes I think he just makes it too easy for a defender to mark him or too easy for, someone else to score. And when you're a striker, when you're a 9, you have to be greedy. You have to be ruthless. But also, when you're a number 9, you have to accept there's going to be times when you don't score, when you have a goal drought. Now, how do you react to that? And the one good thing is it's not affecting his performance in that sense. He's not getting frustrated when he's playing. He's not getting angry and showing it in his performance. But we need him to be looking to get those goals. We need him to be doing that. And also, I do think, actually, Cavani brings us a different option against different teams. Like that front three for me there is our best front three that we saw against Istanbul. Now, horses for courses and all that. You don't want to play all your front three at once. But there's an option there. Now, in terms of Cavani Martial, I think you start both of them against Southampton.
Yeah. We'll get into our team lineups in a little bit, but yeah, I think you do start on both. I think when you say you don't want to play all your front three at once, we need to play what the team that gives us the best chance of winning is. And it's unfortunate that, again, I think in midfield we've got loads of options now. We've got Matic, Bruno, Pogba, McTominay, Fred, and then you've got Van der Beek. You've got even other, Lingard if you need him. You've got other players who can play in there. I think on the front three we've basically got Rashford, Martial, Cavani. Then after that you've kind of got Dan James and Mata.
Greenwood,
of course.
Igalo.
But again,
I know he's very
Igalo's not really part of that. James isn't as much part of that. Mata isn't as much part of that. We've kind of got 4 players who are the main guys to fill 3 roles. Now, if you have to play 3 of those 4 at once, I think you do it. And it's a shame because that's where Sancho would have helped, where you can play Martial on the left at some games, Cavani up front, Sancho, and you've still got Rashford to bring on, or you've got Martial up front and Rashford on the left, you've still got Cavani to bring on or Greenwood to bring on. Whereas instead we have to play 3 of the 4 main guys, I think, in most games in order to be a real threat. We saw when Martial was suspended, we're playing like Marcus Rashford and Dan James as a split striker, which doesn't really suit Rashford, certainly doesn't suit Dan James, but we didn't really have too many other options with Greenwood going through a bit of a difficult patch himself. So I think I wish we didn't have to play 3 of our 4, or I wish we had more than 4 options in those 3 positions, but we don't.
I don't think I've seen movement from a striker as good as Cavani since Van Nistelrooy.
Yeah, definitely not.
Van Nistelrooy was so clever at manipulating offsides and the rules, and when the rule would change and what's offside and what's not offside, and learning how to just come offside and pop back onside, and like doing those little things. And I think, obviously, at this moment in time, you see a lot of getting on, people's backs, but you've got to look at Cavani's movement is probably the best out there as well. So we're not talking about some average striker. Like, this movement that he's showing is incredible, and it's why he gets so many opportunities. It's probably why he misses some as well, because he's constantly on the move.
And he's sprinting to near
you're
post.
always moving, do you know what I mean? So you're always going to maybe hit it off balance or do something wrong. But he gets himself those chances.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. At the moment, the Rashfords, Martials, Rashford does it more now. Martial, when you're there, you got to make chances for yourself as well. And I suppose it's a learning curve, but you need to start picking them things up like that now, because the pressure's on, you know what I mean? And you can't live off, well, last season I had my best ever season. If this season you're not cutting it.
Yeah.
Because it's Manchester United. It's a ruthless
What are
place
you
to
doing
be.
now that you have to be doing it all
It's
the
like
time?
Eddie Murphy said, what have you done for me lately?
Yeah, exactly.
Or Janet Jackson.
Yeah, but that's the same, isn't it? It's like you saying that to Martial, Eddie Murphy to...
No, I mean,
Jackson.
Janet Jackson sang it and Eddie Murphy said it in his stand-up. But, yeah.
You get Tony... Say it to Tony Marshall next time you see him. Tony.
No, I can't say that.
You could sneak in against Liverpool and pretend you're a Liverpool fan with a new logo.
I have to, keep his chin up.
Keep him sweet. Should we move on then?
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit about the midfield battle. We've been talking about the strikers,
Midfield.
the attackers. Let's talk a little bit about... There's a lot of things going on at the minute in there. It seems like in every position, United have got a player that's not really training, we're not sure why, a player that's injured, a player that should be playing but is out of favour. Obviously, Paul Pogba's a big part of that, but it seems as though he's got an ankle injury. Then there's Matic, who was looked really good at the end of last season and has looked, I think, pretty terrible this season when he's played.
Wonder what happened in between those two things.
I don't know what happened.
Signing a new contract.
Maybe that was what it was. Who knows? But then we had Donny van der Beek playing for the first time, I think, starting in that deeper role. He actually played it away in Turkey, didn't he? And I didn't think it was very good. But he played it against Istanbul the other night alongside Fred.
I don't think he was particularly good defensively.
Not necessarily defensively, but he kept everything ticking over, playing the ball forward, not always, side, back. It's obviously where any midfielder is going to pass the ball sideways a lot because that's just the nature of football, but he's not frightened to break the lines, to find Bruno, to get the ball accelerated up the pitch. Now, McTominay, we saw Ollie talk about him saying he's played, 9 games in the last 3 or 4 weeks or so, and a lot of them with Scotland as well, and a lot of travelling. Fred seems to be the ever-present in there at the moment with the downturn of Matic's form and with Pogba being out injured, and before that his form wasn't great. You're expecting McTominay to come back in, you're expecting Donny van der Beek to play. Do you think that we can have a midfield that is balanced with Fred and Van der Beek and Bruno, or do we need a bit more solidity than that? Again,
it's the old adage, horses for courses, isn't it? It depends who you have got. Who you are coming up against. I think against a team like Istanbul, look, we know they caused us problems in that first game in Istanbul, but actually they're not a very good team. They haven't got much that should be causing us problems, and we were kind of allowed to have that space in front of the defence and not worry too much. So, there were a few mistakes and a few openings we gave them which they didn't make the most of, but generally speaking, they weren't ever going to cause us a threat. Now, there'll be some teams, and I think Southampton possibly fall into that, where you've got to think about what's coming back at you a little bit more, who's sitting in front of the defence, how many of your midfielders need to sit. Now, the big frustrating thing for me is we often sit one or two midfielders there. That's really frustrating. And the good thing about Donny van der Beek, if he is one of those, is that he's played 6, so he's used to it. Now, physically, I don't think he's got the attributes to be a day in, day out 6 in the Prem. But intelligence, awareness of space, the ability to just pop off a pass one time, and the range of passing that he has, there's no reason why he couldn't do that role in a similar vein to Carrick. And I also think when we play Fred and McTominay, sometimes McTominay doesn't show enough for him. So he doesn't hide, because I wouldn't accuse McTominay of doing that. But in terms of showing for passes, being in the right space, he's not occasionally there. And I mean this in terms of to progress the play. He'll maybe be available for a sideways pass, a little pass. And I think Donny van der Beek and Fred, what they both have in their lockers is that ability to turn and go and move the ball forward. So they kind of worked well as a foil together. But there'll be some games where we can't play that. And I'd imagine this is possibly one of them because they're a very good team. And you have someone like Ward-Prowse popping up on the edge of the box or something like that. They can cause you problems. So we need to be aware of that. But sometimes Fred and Donny can work. Now, I think we're helped this weekend by the fact I don't think Paul Pogba's going to be rushed back. The reports on him are that he's got that ankle injury again. The one he had an operation on, so they don't really want to rush him back yet. He could make it into the squad, but it's pointless rushing.
Worrying though,
we spoke about that ankle injury being a problem before.
Me.
So you've got no Pogba. You have got Donny, Matic, McTominay, Fred. Bruno's a given.
Yeah.
So it's almost two of those. Now, I think you go for one of McTominay or Matic in this one, and one of Fred or Donny. Personally,
yeah, I don't think we'll see Fred and Donny on the same pitch again against Southampton. Even though I'd like to get to a point where we can play one who's a bit more of an industrious workhorse in Fred, and then someone who's a bit more of a not a playmaker but a play progressor in Donny. So I'd like to get to that point, but I don't think we'll see it. I just think he's gonna play it a little bit more safe. He likes to. Something we've seen is, I don't know. Maybe it's just because the format is slightly more forgiving. But I think we've seen in the Champions League, he likes to try his experiments out in Europe first. And then what works, he takes it back to the Premier League. Like, he tried the diamond out against PSG. He was like, that worked.
Leipzig.
Against Leipzig. But we did it for a small portion of the second half as well. Okay. We went from the 3 at the back to a diamond to a 4-2-3-1.
You're right.
And then he tried it against Leipzig again. It worked again. Tried it against Arsenal. Got battered. Not score-wise, but we just couldn't get the ball out. He's done a similar thing where he's tried Van der Beek in there. I wonder if he will now go, actually, let me try that in the Premier League. But it's hard to say because he mentioned again, Ole, after the game, he said, we want to get to a point where if you play well, you keep your place. Now, to me, that has to be a nod to either Cavani or Van der Beek or both, because I thought they were both very good. And I wonder whether it's a bit of a diss or a knock against people like maybe Matic or maybe Martial, where they're not necessarily playing as well. But I suppose we'll have to wait and see on that one.
I don't think that's a knock. That's football.
Yeah, of course.
Like, I don't think any player or any fan can look at that and say, well, that's a knock.
No.
Do you know what I mean?
I just think it's one of them where
it's like if you're not playing well, especially at a club like Manchester United, you cannot expect to keep your spot in the team. Now, I don't particularly think Matic or any of these players have done badly, or even Martial, for example. He's never stanked the place out, but you're a 9 there, you score goals. Now, Cavani didn't score the last game, so we're almost like, but he did play well. So it's like, if you get dragged out, you come back and you take it back. Yeah. It's that simple. There's no time for all this, I'm not getting picked shit. Like, fuck it. No. Like, if you don't want to allow it then. If you're not ready to fight for your spot, you're at the wrong club, do you know what I mean? And I think also, if you can't accept players will have dips in form, you've not been watching football long enough. So it's like, it's not a bad thing if that happens. And actually, it's what we're crying out for, because there's been periods over the last 2 years when Rashford's injured or out of form, keep playing him. Martial's injured or out of form, which was very rarely last year, but you keep playing it. And it's like, no one benefits from that.
There was a period before Christmas where Martial wasn't great.
January.
Around that time, around Christmas, where he wasn't so good, but he kept playing. But it's hard to know, innit? Again, some of that comes down to selection choices. Like, if you don't have anyone to replace him, what are you going to do? Replace him with just some random person from the youth academy just because it's not Martial?
I know Steve likes to run this thing that Ollie doesn't fancy Martial or some bollocks like that. That's exactly what it is. I think you saw that Ollie does fancy him in terms of the way he plays and the way he brings others into play. Meant that at that time, rather than play Igalo, he would keep Martial in the team. And I actually think that's why Martial will keep his spot on the weekend, which, funnily enough, is a great segue into the teams.
Yes.
Joe, who is in your team?
If we get that on the screen quick. It's De Gea, I think that's guaranteed. I mean, it seemed as though Henderson might get a start in the Champions League, but even then he couldn't. So
He even had Lee Grant sat next to him on the bench.
so I'm thinking there's no way De Gea doesn't start. Then the obvious back four, obviously Luke Shaw's injured, so Tellez comes in. I think both Lindelof and Maguire have been not necessarily very good, but decent and good in some games. Like Lindelof, that ball over to Rashford the other night got us a penalty. He played a ball over a couple of weeks ago. I think there was a goal ruled out for offside as well. And I think Maguire, imperious in the air as he always is, even when he's not in form, he wins every header. And obviously Wan-Bissaka, is pretty certain in there as well. But I've gone with Fred and McTominay. I think, as we said before, that's Ole's tried and trusted. When I need an industrious, hard-working performance against a team that's going to cause us a bit of bother, he goes with them. He did it against Everton. He's done it in other big games. He did it against PSG away. That's his, I think this team might cause us some problems. Here's my midfield. So I think he'll go with Fred and McTominay. Obviously, McTominay got a rest as well. After that, I've gone in behind the striker. I've gone Rashford on the right, Bruno in the centre, obviously, and Martial out on the left. With Cavani up front. I think we'll see a little bit of what we saw against Istanbul. I thought it was the most fluid attack we've had for a long time. If you look, and I'm not the biggest fan of like average positions and all that sort of stuff, but you see him, and every single time, it's like there's a nice little defensive shape, then there's an empty, collapsed side on that right-hand side, and actually Rashford stuck to the right-hand side a lot more. And I think we just need, even just from a shape perspective, from a perspective of just stretching their defence, whether Rashford's a bit better on the left or Martial's a bit better up front, whatever it is, to stretch a team out gives more space to Bruno, gives more space to Cavani, gives more space to both Rashford and Martial when they're on the ball. So I think he'll go with that again, and especially because it's obviously my only concern about this team is whether Cavani's fit enough to start again. But I do think that, that is probably, especially, with Greenwood in and out of the team at the moment, again, it's hard to know exactly the timeline on what's going on with him. So I'm assuming he's not going to be ready to start. I think the best front four we can put out is, of course, Bruno, of course, Rashford, and I would put Martial back on the left-hand side and put Cavani up front, with the understanding that, is this a sort of, oh no, it's happening again with Martial, where you're like, he's tried to be the striker before, and Zlatan came in. Then he's thought, well, maybe it's my chance now, and Lukaku's come in, and then he's just had a good season as the attacker, the main striker, the number 9 last season, and now Cavani comes in, and people like me are going, I think Cavani should start up front. But I do think the movement that we talked about of Cavani, I do think that Martial's ability to square a man up and go past him with space in behind is lost almost entirely when he plays at number 9. It's a lot of back to goal work. It's a lot of turning in tight spaces. I think you get, and I'm not saying that Martial is better as a winger than he is as a striker, but I think there are more good strikers that are better than Martial positionally and movement-wise than there are left wingers that are better than him. I think he's a really high-level left winger. And I think we've got someone like Cavani who can play that striker role. So I'm going to go with the same front four that we saw against Istanbul.
I've gone with a predicted 11, not a preferred 11, just for those guys at home that don't know the difference. And my team does not have Cavani in it, because I feel like every time we expect something, Ali usually doesn't do it. So I've gone with David De Gea in goal, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Lindelof, Tellez, Fred, Van der Beek. Again, I'm half feeling we might see a Matic and Fred kind of thing. But Van der Beek's performance was pretty good, and he kind of hinted at the fact that he might keep in the team. Bruno Fernandes, Mason Greenwood, Marcus Rashford, and Anthony Martial is the team I've gone for. If I was to go with my preferred 11, Rashford would be on the right, Martial on the left, Cavani through the middle. But it's not. Again, I think people overreact too much, or they to think that's here we go again. Well, it's not. It's a front three, and I think as a striker nowadays, as a forward nowadays, you have to be ready to play on any side of them. I mean, Messi plays through the middle, on the left, on the right. You don't have to. You have to be able to play in all three of those, I think, and having that flexibleness. And also, when you watch Cavani, he will pop up on the left. Martial will be back through the middle. So it's not like you stick to those positions. That's it. Don't move. There's a lot of movement in and around that. And I actually think Cavani's movement brings a lot more space for Rashford and Martial to cause problems for teams.
Yeah.
That's my team though, because I don't think Ollie will start Cavani.
Yeah, I can see your point with that. I'm not necessarily certain he will either, but I do think after that comment about, if you play well, you need to stay in the team.
I read that as Donny.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying before. Is it Donny? Is it Cavani? But I'm hopeful that we will see Cavani, because I do think an inform and a fit Cavani and Martial on the pitch and a Rashford on the pitch and Bruno on the pitch, that's a really devastating front four. Whereas I think, Rashford on the left, Mata on the right, Martial up front isn't quite as devastating.
The beauty of it is what you alluded to earlier, like we play with a bigger pitch when we've got Rashford out there. Do you know what I mean? We play with more of the pitch. If you look at a lot of the issues we have is whoever's on the right cuts in really central, close to Bruno. Wan-Bissaka comes down. So then you've kind of got Wan-Bissaka having to go, fuck's sake, I've got to go back and defend now every time they're counter-attacking. And your team is out of shape. And that's why, like you say, Martial that day holding his line, Rashford holding his line, Cavani coming in short, working it. It allows, a lot more gaps in between the fullbacks and the defence for those two to cause issues. So, I think we save that front three for the biggies. There's no need wasting it every single week. I mean that in a sense that you're risking an injury to more of those players. And Cavani, let's be real, he can't play every game, bro.
No, I know.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know he's not going to start like twice a week throughout Christmas. I just think that I thought we hit on something in that first half where I looked at that and I was watching, you're taking in not just the goals, but the feeling of it. Yeah, but we played against the same opposition 2 weeks ago and we're shocking.
How much of it was us?
Yeah, exactly. I think all of it was, most of it was us. I think it's the way we set up. I think the midfield helped massively. I think Tellez helped massively. Having someone like him who's, just whipping balls
involved in both goals as well.
Yeah, exactly. Took the corner and put the ball in that was dropped on the floor. I just think that's the best front four we can put out. And so, when I'm predicting, partial prediction, partial preferred, I think you've got to go with that. Assuming Cavani's can take the workload.
Therefore, moving on to the opposition, we've got Southampton. Hassan Hootle's men is doing absolutely fantastically well with them at the moment. They're currently sat in fifth, come a long way since that 9-0 drubbing at the hands of Leicester City. Playing a 4-2-2-2-2-2-2-2 usually.
A couple twos at the end there.
High pressing football. Obviously, we've had problems with that in the past, but you'd like to think we'd probably play a midfield that will combat that. And, in the last 2 games against them, we've dropped 4 points.
Yeah.
So they're clearly a team that has caused us problems. But without Danny Ings, they will be missing something, which he could be missing out on this game. What did you make of... What have you made of Southampton so far this season?
Yeah, impressive. And it's been impressive and a bit of a... I hate using the term breath of fresh air because it's just a shit cliche, but a nice surprise that they had that absolute battery.
Oh, you're saying you want to play for Southampton now?
Devastating.
You're saying you prefer it at Southampton now?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, a devastating loss.
That's what you
to
did to
Leicester.
Pogba, innit?
What? Did what?
When he said breath of fresh air.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you want to play for Leicester? Yeah.
A devastating.
What? Want to do
loss.
Leicester fan TV? Yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that.
Southampton
Does
fan
it exist?
TV.
St Mary's fan TV.
Yeah, Southampton do. They have the ugly inside. It's called. You'd fit well down there because you're ugly outside. Innit? Shout out the ugly inside.
Yeah,
good
cheers.
lads. Them. We usually see them down at St Mary's.
Thanks for that. Very, very aggressive and very abusive, but I'll carry on. It's nice to see that they just went, you know what? We've lost 9-0. Something has to change here, but it's not the manager.
But it's the manager.
But it's not. And they went, we're going to give you time. We
It's
trust
a
you.
goalkeeper.
We like what you're doing. Get a new goalie in. And we think you can turn stuff around. And he has turned stuff around. And I don't think they're going to be in fifth by the end of the season. But they're a team where you look at them and you go, they've got ways to beat good teams. And they've got, obviously, Danny Ings looks like he's going to be out for this one. They've got Shea Adams in there who's been getting goals in the space of Danny Ings. But we've got to beat them. They're a good team. They're on a good run of form. They've got a decent manager, a couple of good players. You're talking about Theo Walcott. Like,
what did you say?
We've got to beat him.
You said
Shea Adams has been doing good things in the space of Danny Ings. What? I'm not saying he's shagging him, am I? Always that with you, innit? Always that. I just think that we've got to beat them. And whether it's with these two holding midfielders or these attackers or this, that or the other, we can't keep stopping and stalling and going. And we talk about this stuff of, we struggle against high pressing teams like we did against Arsenal. Well, we also used to struggle against teams that sit back, or we also used to struggle when we had more than 50% possession. I was looking the other day and I think we struggle against everyone. Well, that's the thing. That's what I'm saying. People like to boil it down to this is what United can do, this is what United can't do. And what we've actually proven over the last 18 months is sometimes we're really good against high-pressing teams because we counter-attack and we find our way through. Sometimes we're shit, like we were against Arsenal. We get pressed and we don't do anything. Other times teams sit back and we don't know what to do. And then other times we slice through and put balls in the box, win headers, get a couple of penalties, game over. What we need to do is be more consistent. Regardless of whether they sit back, whether they press, whatever it is, because we can beat any different style. We just need to do it. And it's one of those games where they're a good team. You can say, they've got 4 points against us in the last 2 games. It's Southampton. We need to beat them, regardless of who their manager is or whether Danny Ings is fit or not fit. We need to beat Southampton.
Do you think he's fit?
I served him a milkshake once when he used to play for Liverpool, and I worked at Home Sweet Home in Manchester. He came in with his girlfriend, and he had an Oreo milkshake. So there you go, Danny Ings, ladies and gentlemen.
Special ingredients?
No special ingredients at all. Just a touch of urine. But no,
allegedly.
This is when he'd done his knee at Liverpool, and he came in.
Joke.
He was on the milkshakes. Him and his girlfriend served him a milkshake. So I've got no hard feelings against Danny Ings. Don't remember him leaving a hefty tip. But I suppose I worked on the bar, so he wouldn't have done.
We don't live in America.
No.
You don't have to tip.
Yeah, you do.
I don't tip.
Yeah, but that's because you're rude.
No, unless you've gone above and beyond for me, I'm not tipping you for doing your job.
I think that's a bit rude.
No one tips me.
What?
And then I do a fan cam. Oh, here's a £5 because that was mint. Fuck off then. Yeah?
We do that. That's what we do. We pay you for
Put
that.
it down my
exactly.
bra.
What do you think, Southampton? Are you worried?
I am worried about this fixture actually because I think they're a good team and they play good football, and it's the kind of fixture that would cause us problems, like away from home, early kickoff. I just hate them kind of games. Like it's not great. Like it don't give you good vibes. But without Danny Ings for them, I think that's a huge relief for Victor Lindelof and Harry Maguire if he's still out. But the likes of Shea Adams, Theo Walcott, they can cause us problems. Ward-Prowse with his set pieces can cause us problems. So we need to be aware of what they can do to Manchester United. But I also feel like because they're a team that are playing with confidence, they're sitting 5th in the league, they're not going to approach this game thinking, let's sit back. They might actually think, let's go for it, and that will play into our hands, I think. So it could be a good game with a few goals available.
Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to get a few. I think, like I said, I think there will be a few goals scored, especially if they try and press us. I'm expecting a win, really. Give me a score prediction. What are you thinking?
2-0.
2-0.
Manchester United.
Going for the clean sheet.
Martial scoring.
United haven't conceded many goals in the last few games. Since the Tottenham
Did you
game,
hear what I said?
Martial's going to score. One or both?
I've seen him score 2 at St Mary's, so I'll go both.
Both.
Remember when he twisted up fucking Van Dijk?
Yeah, that was early. That was like his 3rd game, wasn't it, for United? Or 4th game.
2nd or 3rd, yeah.
When he went on that run at the start. 2-0. I think it's going to be. I don't think we're going to blow them away. I don't think. I'm saying that we need to win. I don't think it's going to be some, massive easy victory. I'm going to go 2-1 because they are a good team. But come on, if we're sitting here saying, "Oh, we've really got to be worried about Theo Walcott," that shouldn't be what we have to say. We shouldn't look back and go, damn it, Theo Walcott did us. It's Theo Walcott.
We would have won if it wasn't for them pesky Theos.
Yeah, and the same with Ward-Prowse. He's a great player, but he's very much a known quantity, isn't it? If he gets a free kick on the edge of the box, whips it in and they score, or he puts it in the top corner, you think, how have we allowed their most obvious forms of attack to beat us? I think we've got to be better than that. Coaching-wise, the way we set up on the pitch, the way that, the likes of Maguire and Lindelof sort of marshal the defence. We can't just allow, they've got a corner, Ward-Prowse, good cross, head it in the back of the net. Oh, look, we knew that'd happen. We have to be smart. We have to be better than that. So I'm going to go 2-1. I don't think it'll be easy, but we've got to win.
We conceded from Vestergaard last time. That's so annoying. I'm going for a win. we do need a win, and this is one of the places where we can pick it up. And it's actually one of those places where we could gain points on last season, which we haven't done in many fixtures this season. We seem to have dropped them. So there you have it, guys. Those are our thoughts on the Southampton game. Get your thoughts in the comments below. Your predictions, your predicted 11s, preferred 11s if you want. Remember, we predicted our 11s. We didn't do preferred 11. Otherwise, Beckham would be in mine, and who would be in yours?
Varane.
Yeah. So, yeah, you would have got that
if
you got our preferred 11. So get your predicted 11s, predicted scores, your thoughts on Southampton in the comments below. Joe, anything you want to add?
We've got to win. We've got to start picking up consistent wins. Simple as that. Simple as that.
I mean, just in general. But
I tell you what's really good: chips with gravy and curry sauce. People think you can only have one liquid sauce on a chip. Trust me, chips, gravy, and curry sauce.
Chips and gravy and curry sauce.
Mate, see, this is the problem. This is what we're fighting against. These sorts of attitudes are what we're fighting against.
Chili and mayo.
Well, that's the difference. That's like
Salad, chili mayo.
That's like your kebab shop end of the thing. This is like your fish and chip shop end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you tell Lala there's door naan as well? Nah, he doesn't.
Don't know what that means.
Every chip shop has a Lala in the back making naan. Don't you know that?
I actually don't know what word you're saying. What is it?
Racist, that. Anyway, guys.
Who's in the back making naan?
Lala is in the back making naan.
What does Lala mean?
It's his name.
Right. Okay.
Lala
So you were being
naan.
Oh, thank God it was you being racist, not me. Thank you. Oh, brilliant. I've got away with it.
Never been in a chippy and heard that saying?
Nope.
Going to the wrong chippies.
The less racist ones.
Shout out Sakid Kebab House. Guys, we're done. Thank you for watching. Bye. Head over to stretfordpaddock.bigcartel.com and check out the Paddock merch. And for a short time, you can get 20% off orders with 2 items or more using the code Paddock20. Go get on it.